What we're going to do today is to take this 2007 Suzuki Bandit 1250 and put a new fuel pump in it. This is a bike that's new to me. I've had it about 3 or 4 weeks, and about 50 miles from home the fuel pump just failed. A couple of things you can do with these. Suzuki just sells a fuel pump assembly, which includes a carrier, filters, and everything that goes with it, which fits up inside the fuel tank. Runs a little over $400. For about a tenth of that price, about $50, $60, you can get a replacement fuel pump only, which will fit inside the carrier. That's what I've elected to do here. So to do this, what we're going to do, we're going to drain some fuel from the fuel tank. This is about 2/3 full. I'm going to take the fuel tank off, show you how to do that. Take it over to a table, flip it upside down. We'll pull the carrier out. We'll pull the old fuel pump out of the carrier, put the new one in, reverse everything, put it back together, and hopefully it'll start up first time. So looking forward to it, so let's get going. One of the first things we want to do is to drain some of the fuel out of the tank. I don't know how much is in there, probably about a half a tank, but we're going to have to obviously take the tank off. The fuel pump is inside of it, and you don't want, you want as little fuel as possible in there. So let's open this up. Looks like we got about at least 2/3 of a tank in there. So I'll get as much as I can out of this. I might have to, this has got some gas in it already. This is a, obviously a siphon. I think it runs $3 or $4, but you can't beat it for stuff like this. It's got an arrow. Gas gets messy, obviously, and so you want to keep as little of it as possible. And to stop it, just pull it out. So what we're going to do now then is take off the fuel tank, obviously, and I'll be Mr. Obvious, but it's done here with these two bolts. One thing I love about Suzuki's is stuff is easy to take off. Sometimes it's hard to put on, but simple as that. So what we're going to do now, obviously, is just pull this tank off. You know, I should have mentioned ahead of time that unhook the battery on here. You know, take the negative terminal off. You don't want any sparks when you're screwing around with the gas tank on here. So to get this off, this pulls back, and you know what? I've got a little rag here because I'm going to set this on the side. And obviously the underneath of the tank right here, let me move this out a little ways here. One thing you want to do first is, this is the coupler for the fuel pump. You want to remove that. Okay, you've got two hoses here, a overflow and a vent. So just get a pair of pliers, get that spring clamp, and that'll come off there. Okay. And you can pull this clamp here off to get the hose. Alright, so you can leave that with the bike, and then this vent here. Now another thing you might want to do is to put a rag down here, because when we take off this quick connect, there's going to be gas that drips. So, and this comes off easy by just squeezing. Tilt forward a little bit, would you? There we go. Okay. All right, now your tank is ready to pull out. So we've got the tank upside down right now. One thing I did, there's the vent tube here was pushing fuel out, so I stuck a quick line on there with a valve so it wouldn't leak. Got some rags. That way we'll try to get this going here. And you've got 5 bolts here. Oops. And you can see it's still leaking somewhat. Yeah, I forgot to mention too is I've got some towels down on this board because obviously the fuel gets messy. So let's pull these out. See what we got going here. And there we go. And then this whole thing, and just pull out the fuel pump here. All right, we've got the fuel pump and the carrier taken out. Fuel pump is inside here, and that's what we'll replace with the new one. So we've got the fuel pump here, obviously, and what we're going to do is take this apart. There's 2 screws, one on each side. So get the 2 screws out and pull the filter cap off. Pop these little clips off. And there we go. And the ground. So then what we have here is the unit. It's obviously the filter unit. This just pulls off like that. You can see this is pretty dirty. Maybe this is why the thing failed. And then the pump should slide right out. And there we go. So let's bench test this to make sure. Got the 2 fuel pumps here, old one and new one. I'm going to put some 12 volts to it just to make sure that we're good. I've got I built this little DC power supply out of an old computer power supply. It's actually come in pretty handy a few times, but let's see what we got here. Nothing. Make sure the new one's working. Make sure I got a positive to negative. Yep. So we're good there. So what we're going to do, let me turn this off, is start swapping some of this stuff out to see what we've got. And it looks like pretty much an exacto fit, which is nice. I love it when a plan comes together. All right, it's got this little protective cap here. Let's pull that off. Looks like this cap here. All right. We've got negative wire. We've got the positive wire. And we've got a little O-ring. I did buy some new O-rings for this. And the one I was most concerned about is the one that fits over the tank, but we'll deal with that later as we go in here. Got this little bugger here, which fits right there. Then we put on the positive lead here, and this cap goes over that on top of the O-ring. And then we have a negative lead. Okay, so we've got those together on there. All right, So let me put the old one aside, put this in. Goes in there. We've got the new filter. I love it when parts can only go in one way. It just helps prevent the screw-ups. So we've got the unit. We're going to get ready to put her back in. Got this little clip which keeps the pump from jiggling around too much. So let's see. It goes in like this. Got a new O-ring I snuck in there. Anytime you're got the opportunity to put in new gaskets or you pull the old ones out, it's best to get new ones in. I want to make sure the wires are routed good. This one will clip here along with the other ground, and this will run through here, and we'll get that in a second. But let's get these retainer clips in here and get this thing battened down. That one snaps in. And that one snaps in. And then we take the filter cover. Whoops, that popped out. We get the filter cover. And it goes on there. All right. Let's take the screws, put the pump back on. Tighten them all down here in a minute. All right, we're kind of starting in the middle of this. The camera actually overheated. It's a beautiful spring day here in Michigan, and apparently the sun was making that thing get a little hot. So anyway, we'll continue to screw this in. This is nothing more than the cap for the filter. Okay. We've got this wire here, which needs to go underneath that clip through here and coupled onto this fitting there. All right. Then we have the two grounds which get connected up here. God, it is a nice day though. Okay. I got that. And I think we are good to go. But you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this power supply back on, just in case. To see bingo. I love it when a plan comes together. All right, I'm going to turn that off, set it aside, and double check everything here, and then we'll get it back in the tank. So we're going to put the carrier back in. First thing I want to do is replace this seal. Bought a new one from Suzuki, and I would suggest doing the same thing. The last thing you want is to have this thing leaking. since it's right over the cylinder heads. And all I'm doing is putting a little oil on it to get it lubed up here. Just a little film is working. Set it back in there. Just like such. This tank is hot. Gotta get this clip back in. This is for the float. Okay. And there we go. Get these started. Okay, so now we've got to torque these down, and make sure you do torque them. You don't want to strip these or not get them tight enough, and make sure you use a 1/4 inch torque wrench, because 7 foot-pounds equals 84 inch-pounds, and these small fasteners, you don't want them to go any tighter than they have to be. So I'm just going to do a little star pattern here just to get things going. Got this little wire clip. I don't want it to spin too much here. You can hear it click. That's all we need. Okay, this little puppy is ready to go back onto the bike. All right, as you can see, I've got the tank back on there, put the two tubes on, the clip for the electrical, and hooked up the fuel again. Let me tighten down this battery terminal. And let's see if this little monster will run here. Okay, what are the bets? Yes, no, on, clutch in, neutral. There you've got it. Fuel pump repair for a Suzuki Bandit 1250. Well, that's it, folks. Mission accomplished. We got the bike running, fixed the fuel pump. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it helped. And I think it's time for a scotch myself. So ride safe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.